really quickly all the men and women who were at either Bunkerville or Malheur to stand, and I would like everybody to give them a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, the time is now what you've been waiting for, and we have had some excellent speakers. We would like to welcome a patriarch and a wonderful man and his beautiful wife, Cliven and Carol Bundy.
It's a boy! What an honor it is to stand before you. You know, as my wife and I came in, all of the cars parked all the way down the road and back and forth, I'm wondering, how's this building going to hold all these people? First, I want to recognize those young people that's here. These boys and girls, how special it is you're here tonight. You know, I listened to the talks here, and I want to say one thing. Ammon Bundy and Jake Ryan and Lavoy Finnegan did they make the right stand?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You know, they come to help their neighbor. Isn't that one of the main commandments? Be charitable. Without charity, you don't have anything. They was charity. They Lavoy give their life. My son Ammon give 2 years of his life. Jake has given much of his life and still given. How much is freedom worth?
Everything.
Is it worth whatever it takes?
Yeah.
You know, I'm asked often, and who are you mad at, Cliven Bundy? And what are you going to do about the federal government and all this abuse? You know, I spent 700 days in jail. But I also spent about 30 years with threats and with snipers pointing at me. I faced, not I alone, we the people faced an army from people of our government, bringing an army against we the people. They weren't just carrying sidearms, 6-shooters, I'll guarantee you that. They were well equipped with the highest military surveillance equipment, communication equipment, and arms. Very well organized. And people say, what are you going to do, Bundy? And I have to stop and think, well, I'm either going to have to forgive them or hold them accountable. But then I think, hold them accountable. Who would I hold accountable? Who would you say that I should hold accountable?
Obama. Yeah.
Okay. Obama. Who else? Who else? Okay, the sheriff. Who else?
Harry Reid.
Harry Reid. Myrie. Okay. Who else?
Navarro. All of them.
Okay. Somebody hit it.
Sheriff.
Grand Inspector.
Lombardo.
Okay, let me explain something. Who would? Why? Let me ask you this question. Why would Cliven Bundy be mad at the federal government? No. Stop and think. Cliven Bundy don't recognize them having any jurisdiction or authority in the Clark County, Nevada.
That's right.
I don't. Why would I be too upset about somebody that didn't have no jurisdiction or authority? I want to. You know what my? I have a 15-second defense. You know, I've talked to all these attorneys. Everybody said, Bundy, you're crazy. 15-second defense? That's all I have is a 15-second defense. That's all I've ever said I had. And who would... Let me tell you my 15-second defense. My 15-second defense is I graze my cattle only on Clark County, Nevada land. And I have no contract with the federal government. Now, I know I can't understand that. But who would I be mad at? I could be mad at Obama. I could be mad at my sheriff. I could be mad at my county commissioners. I could be mad at the governor of the state of Nevada. But I'm not really mad at any of those people. I'm mad at my state brand inspector. Why would I be mad at my state brand inspector? You know, I pay taxes. I pay an annual fee to renew my brand inspection or brand certification. I pay a brand inspector every damn time he comes to inspect my cows. Why do I do that? Yeah, why am I paying the brand inspector? Protect what? Protect my cows. That's why I have a VO brand registered with the state of Nevada. That's to protect that brand. I don't pay anybody else. I don't pay the feds or anybody to protect my cows. I pay my brand inspector to protect my cows. Now, who does he work for? He represents the state of Nevada. I don't have a contract with the federal government. I don't graze my cattle on their land. This is the thing I need to talk to you about. I hear all about going back to Washington, D.C. I hear about, Trump's administration should come and straighten all these problems out for us. I hear, we're all mad at the federal government. We're mad at the BLM. We're mad at the Forest Service. We're mad at the National Park Service. We're not mad at the Fish and Wildlife Service. We have big movements like Western Land Coalition that's going to ask the federal government to transfer some land back to Montana, transfer land back to Utah, This battle's already been fought for us. Good heavens, we have an inspired document. It's a blueprint to how this country's supposed to be run.
Yeah.
You show me one place in that document. I believe that's an inspired document. You don't have to go very far to realize it's the supreme law of the land. It was in the intent of America to follow this blueprint. It wasn't only the intent for America. This document is a blueprint for all people in all countries. Our United States Constitution will work any place in the world. Why won't it work here in Montana?
Bullock.
This Constitution has been given to us by inspiration by much blood and much suffering. And we know that it's not going to stand unless we sacrifice some of our efforts in life, our monies, anything that's worthwhile we have to fight for. That's sort of one of the laws of this earth, I guess. You know, I don't know how to express to you what the proper form of government is, except it is the Constitution. Let me get back to where in the Constitution do you find that the federal government can own land? Is there any place in the Constitution indicate that that the people of omitted states, that anywhere within that their omitted states, the United States can own land? Are there any place?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dockyards and armories.
Okay, Article 1, 8 and 17 says something about the federal government can own land. Well, what is it Article 8, 1, 8 and 17 says? It said that they can purchase land from a state for only military uses and other buildings. But let me just bring it back so simple. Even these, I don't know if we got a kindergarten kid in there, but he can understand if the United States is going to buy something from a state, then if they own all of this land, why are they going to buy it from a state? Why are they going to come to Montana and buy land to build a military base or a post office or a courthouse? Why is the United States going to buy property from the state of Montana? And the next question the kindergarten people ask, if Montana doesn't own the land, how could they possibly be selling it? I mean, that's simple in the Constitution. Article 1, 8, and 17. It's right almost in the front of our Constitution. No, what's wrong with everybody? I mean, where else does it say anything about the federal government owning land? You guys all act like they own the land. I've heard it up here 20 times right in the speeches. I don't know what to tell you, except go and read your Constitution and start acting like you're a sovereign state. Now, there's another little step to this. You know, we talked about Article 1, 8, and 17. We can talk about Article 4, 2, and 3. And we know that it's talking about there that the territory is not omitted, disposed of. Well, you know, the government in their courts and everything, they're always talking about this, what is it called? Land, in other words, property clause. There we go. They're talking about the property clause, and they tell us to turn back to Article 4 and 3, and that's the United States property clause. Who knows what it says in Article 4 and 3? The first thing it says is that Congress has power to dispose of a territory. Do you know what dispose means? Get rid of it. So when Congress disposed of, I don't know how Montana was set up in territory-wise, but when Congress disposed of the territory of Montana, let's put it that way, what did they do? They got rid of it, and then what happened to that territory that they disposed of? It was admitted into statehood, admitted into the Union. Ryan talked to you about this Union. And so now what happens when you are admitted into the Union? Guess what? Now the people of Montana receive the Constitution. Because what they're admitted into the United States isn't the Constitution, the supreme law of the United States. So now you people in Montana have the Constitution. And we already talked about the Constitution. There's no place for federal government to own any land. How simple could it be? You know, I don't know how many people are cattlemen. Just raise your hand. You can throw your hat in the air if you want. Cattlemen. How many people are here public land users? Okay, look at you. Well, you know, I don't know about a lot of things. I don't know about exactly like the mining and the timber industry, but I know that there are resources that belong to the state of Montana. But I know quite a bit about grazing, and I know quite a bit about rights. Anybody that has rights on let's say public land, they have created those rights through preemptive rights created through beneficial use. And whoever has those rights have been created by our pioneer fathers, whoever started to use these properties, these resources, and they've either been inherited or bought. And those rights are property rights. They're not privileges. They're not permits. They're not allotments. They're your ranch. I had an old neighbor of mine who's been gone for quite a few years. And one of the things he told me, he said, Cliven, never call your ranch allotment. Never call it a permit. Never call it a lease. Never call it a license. Call it your ranch. Bundy Ranch. You know, at the time, I probably didn't understand the importance. But if they're your property, then you have property rights. You have water rights. You have access rights. You have range improvements. You don't have the right to lock people out, and keep them from coming, and do all those things. But you have those rights nobody else has. Your neighbor don't have the right to graze cattle on that your ranch. You're the only one that has them rights. Your neighbor has right to go out there and fish and hunt and camp and enjoy the public land. But you're the one that has the rights. But then what? Let me. I'm talking a little bit more or less to the rancher here. But it's also the miner, and it's also the timber people. How many of you have seen the map that shows the western United States, and you see, like 60-something% of the western United States is red because the federal government owns that land? How many of you have seen that map?
Yep.
Okay, now let me stop. Let me want to show you something here. You know that all of that red, what I'm going to say all, I know it's not all. I'm going to say all. All of that red, that red has grazed sheep or cattle on it. It's all grazing at one time. All of it. And all of that red is within a admitted state. It's all been disposed of by the federal government. Congress disposed of it. It's all a state, within a state. All of that red has preemptive rights created by beneficial use. It's all been grazed and utilized, and somebody owns that right. But also all of that red has been adjudicated. That's what the 1934 Taylor Grazing Act was all about. Is about adjudicating. There's lines. This rancher owns this, and this rancher owns that, and that rancher owns that, and no other rancher has the right to go across his land. There was range wars. All of these things have been done. They're not things that have to be done. They're things that's been done. So these rights are established. They're on a map. When the Taylor Grazing Act came along, I don't want to take too much time on this, but when the Taylor Grazing Act came along, the ranchers contracted with the federal government for a service. What was their service? One was the federal government was going to monitor. And the other, they was going to survey. And the other, they was going to basically map and keep records. That was what the Taylor Grazing Act was all about. And then, of course, now we know it's converted into what we call a BLM and forest. Sends an AUM to the federal government to do that service for you. And when that adjudication was done, when these boundary lines were done and all this, you didn't get rid of the contract. Then you started to contract the federal government to do range improvements. Well, we needed fences, and we needed water, and we needed all these things. So we contracted the federal government to keep doing this service for us. And let's say we quit paying them 6 cents. Now we're going to pay them $1 for this service. And guess what? How much the money the federal government gets for the service? They don't get the $1. They only get 12.5% of that dollar. That's for their service. What happens to the other 87.5 cents? Who knows? Which rancher knows what's supposed to happen to that other 80? That comes back on you. Who's paying it? That's first. Who's paying the dollar for the service? The rancher is. That's his BLM fee or AUM or whatever, grazing fee. Well, now that 87.5 cents is supposed to come back as range improvements on your land. Isn't that the way you guys understand this? And who's supposed to do this adjudication? Was it the federal government? Was it the county? Was it the state? Who was the judge that said this is? Who was the judge? The grazing board. And who are they? The ranchers. They was nominated and elected, and they worked as a grazing board. They're the ones that judged who had the preemptive rights created. But we're down the road 50, 60, 70, 80 years, and what are you guys doing? You're still contracting with the federal government. And who are you contracting with? Bureau of Land Management. And what have they done? They've quit doing their service now. Now they were managers, and in most cases they're stewards of the range, and now they're saying they own the land. They're the landowners. And you guys are still signing the contracts. Now let me ask the county sheriff. I'm sure he's here. You've got a problem. You want to run over in endangered species bush over here with your pickup, and you're in trouble. And BLM, the Forest Service, are ganging up on you. And of course, the Park Service and Fish and Wildlife and everybody's ganging up on you. And you go to the county sheriff and you say, I want you to come and protect me. I've nominated you, I elected you, and I pay you to protect my life, liberty, and property. Now get over here and protect me. I need your help. And you might go to the governor and say, I need your help also. And you go to the county commission and say, I need your help also. But that's just stick it with the sheriff. And the sheriff says, okay, I have been elected and you do pay me, but I got a problem. Do you have a contract with the federal government? And don't that terms and conditions of that contract say that they have unlimited power? And don't it claim that they even have policing power? And if you break any rules or regulations, you're going to go to a federal court? And then you come to me and want me to help you? You've signed the bottom of that contract. I didn't sign it. You guys got to think about this. Remember what I said? My 15-second defense was, I graze my cattle only on Clark County, Nevada land, and I have no contract with the federal government. I haven't had a contract with the federal government for over 25 years. That's why when I go to court, and I haven't been able to make this point, but some days I will. When I go to this court, I don't plead guilty, and I don't plead innocent. I plead no plea. Why? Because I don't recognize this court of having any jurisdiction over my land that I graze cattle on, my rights, or do I have? I'm not a party. So what I would ask you to do today here is act like Montanians. Act like you have a county government. Act like you understand the Constitution. Let me talk a little bit about county government just a little bit. You know, the federal government disposed of their territory and made a state. And I'm not sure exactly how Montana comes in, but I'm going to talk like I do know, like I know how Nevada come in. It was this territory, and it was disposed of and made a state, and then it was admitted into the Union on equal footing basis of the original 13 states that Ryan talked about. When the United States Congress, when this was a territory, the United States Congress did have unlimited power. They could make all the rules, and they needed rules and regulations. And they could take those rules and regulations and change them. But Montana is not a territory no more. The Congress disposed of it, and when the Congress disposed of it, they disposed of all of their power. They didn't have nothing left. Did you read the Amendment 10 in the Constitution? What does it say? Only the things in the Constitution the federal government has. All of the rest of it is for the states and the people. Only the very limited, very minimum. There are not very many powers given to the federal government. We know they have a power like to protect our borders and protect us from foreign things. We know they have some power to deliver our mail. And we know a simple thing like we know weight and measurements. You know, in the United States, all the weights and measurements are the same. A foot's the same length in New York as it is here in Montana. That's something the federal government should do. And the Constitution, that's what they set apart for them to do. But the federal government, you can't see anything in there telling you how to graze your cattle, cut your timber, mine your mines, take care of your schools, your banks. I mean, where isn't the federal government? And we're all unconstitutional things. Now, let me get back to my county just a little bit longer. The county government is a subdivision of your state. And we got borders around our county government, county lines. And when we elect a county commission, and when we elect our county sheriff, they have no authority on the other next county or within the next city. They have no jurisdiction or authority over there. They have jurisdiction and authority in your county. And this is where you get to exercise your republic form of government at the highest level. You get to nominate them, and you get to elect them, and you get to pay them to protect your life and liberty and property. And you can, the sheriff has all of that jurisdiction. Why? You people give some of your sovereignty to him, and you to be your sheriff, and you pay him. He is your man. You respect him, and you back him up, and you do whatever you can. If he's no good, then get another one. But remember, that is your constitutional right. The closest government to the people is your county government. Respect your county government. Make sure you've got good people in there. But you first, don't have your county government or county sheriff going to fight your battles if you're not really willing to fight them. Cliven Bundy says, if I'm not willing to put my life on the line, I dare if I'm going to ask my sheriff to do that. But I'll tell you one other thing. If I put my life on the line, I expect my county sheriff to come and help me. Anyway, I want to express my love to you. You know, I spent 700 days in jail, and I felt your prayers and your love every day. I did. And my family has felt your prayers and love, and not only that, your support. Do you have any idea how many times and how many days and hours people have drove to support the Bundys and the Hammonds? And how much sacrifice, how many hours they've stood in the sun? How they've shared their wealth and their money, and some of them have shared all they have. And the main thing is they've shared their love to point to they pray to our Heavenly Father, and He has blessed us. There was never one day I spent in jail that I didn't feel some comfort from my Heavenly Father. And I know it was because He was petitioning me to bless me.
Amen. Yes.
I don't know how to thank you, except to tell you I love you. I have learned some things about our Heavenly Father loves all of His children, and we are His children. And He knows each of you. And I want to testify to you that you're very important to Him. We're down here and we have lots of trials and tribulations, but He's given us a body and given us our agency. And He expects us to go through trials and tribulations. That's how we learn. That's how we learn we learn the right from wrong, good from evil, sweet. If we don't know about the sweet, we can't taste the bitter. You know, what a beautiful land we have. You know, as I come up through this country, I've never been through this country. Of course, all I can see is cow feet, you know. But I took a ride just with my wife here an hour or so ago, and we went up, didn't probably get up here over maybe a mile away, and we seen the beautifulest scene we ever seen, looking up the river and the mountains and snow. Our Heavenly Father has blessed us so much. But I want to tell you one more thing. He wants us to love each other, but He wants us to love our wives, and He wants us to have wives and husbands and children. It's important we have a helpmate in this life. Don't go through this life without a helpmate. That's one of the things we're here for. Get you a helpmate if you haven't got one, and if you got one, love each other. You know, I had an experience I want to tell you about. I was sitting in church, and I knew I had a conference. And I thought, what am I going to say to 300 million people? I thought, am I going to call them to repentance? And then I thought, that's a little too strong. And so I took the call and started to talk. And the Spirit started to tell me, ask them to forgive each other. Ask them to forgive their wives, and their wives to forgive their husbands, and their children to forgive their parents, and for everybody in this world to forgive each other. You know, and my grandma used to say, we can all do a little better. Thank you.
I don't know about you, but my cup runs over.